All right, today we're cracking open one of geology's greatest cold cases. Seriously, it's a 50-year-old mystery that involves a stolen continent, a missing getaway route, and a cover-up on, well, a literally mountainous scale.
I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But believe it or not, for half a century, this has been a very real and super controversial scientific puzzle that's been a massive headache for geologists.
Okay, so let's dive right into this geological whodunit. We're going to follow the clues that led scientists to this, frankly, shocking conclusion, and then we'll look at the one piece of missing evidence that just left this entire case unsolved for decades.
So the core of this whole mystery is a hypothesis they call Baja, British Columbia, or Baja BC for short. And the idea is pretty wild. It proposes that a huge chunk of Canada's west coast, well, it doesn't actually belong there. It suggests the land was somehow transported northward by over 1,000 kilometers.
You might be asking, how could we possibly know that? Well, the first big clue comes from this really cool property that rocks have. You see, when volcanic rocks cool down from hot magma, tiny little magnetic minerals inside them act just like compasses. They all point north, aligning with the Earth's magnetic field at that exact moment, and then they get locked in place. It's like a permanent magnetic memory of where that rock was born.
And this is where we get the bombshell. So when scientists analyzed these 70-million-year-old rocks up in British Columbia, they expected the magnetic signal to say, yep, you're in Canada. But that's not what they found. Not even close. The little compasses inside these rocks were pointing to a latitude that lines up with modern-day Mexico. The rocks were thousands of kilometers away from where they were supposed to be. Just wow.
So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, open and shut case, right? I mean, the rocks have an alibi from the wrong country, but there was one giant problem. A problem so big it stumped everyone. See, to move a piece of a continent that massive, you need an equally massive fault line, a colossal crack in the earth where these two huge blocks of land can slide past each other. And for 50 years, nobody could find it. The getaway route was missing.
And believe me, it wasn't for lack of trying. The first hints of this popped up way back in 1972. Then, for the next 2 decades, more and more data just kept confirming it. The evidence was undeniable. But that fault line was nowhere to be found. It all kind of came to a head in 1999 when over 75 experts got together to try and solve it once and for all. And they left with nothing. No answer. The case went completely cold, until just recently, when a new solution finally emerged, cracking this thing wide open.
And this quote, man, it just perfectly illustrates the deadlock they were in. The official report from that huge meeting was basically a scientific shrug. They literally wrote that outstanding problems prevent resolution of the problem. I mean, think about that. They knew something absolutely massive had happened, but they had no clue how it was even physically possible.
But what if the key to this entire mystery, that missing getaway route, was hiding in plain sight the whole time? Turns out there was a prime suspect, but it had what looked like a perfect alibi. Okay, so our suspect is this massive 3,000-kilometer-long valley called the Tintina Rocky Mountain Trench. I mean, look at it. It's long, it's straight, it's in exactly the right place. And the northern part, it's got all the signs of huge movement. But here's the alibi, the thing that threw everyone for a loop. The southern section of this trench, it just didn't seem to have the evidence. It was missing the signs of that massive side-to-side or strike-slip faulting that you'd need for this kind of continental heist.
And this is where the big breakthrough comes in, thanks to a really elegant new solution from Dr. Robert Hildebrand. He basically asked a super simple question. What if the evidence isn't missing? What if it's just buried?
And this is how you pull off the perfect geological crime. So, step 1, the getaway. Between about 70 and 58 million years ago, our huge fault is doing its thing, sliding this massive chunk of continent north. Step 2, the trail goes cold. The fault just stops moving. And then, step 3, the cover-up. Around 52 million years ago, a totally separate tectonic event comes along and just shoves these huge mountains in from the east, right on top of the old fault line. It completely buries all the evidence.
Okay, that is a fantastic theory, right? But in science, you can't just have a good story. You got to test it. So if this whole idea is correct, we should be able to basically unbury that fault, rewind the geological tape by about 1,300 kilometers, and see if things match up. We should find geological features that were torn apart and that now, suddenly, click back together perfectly.
And that's exactly what they found. It's incredible.
When you reverse that movement, all of these disconnected features across the continent just start making perfect sense. Two different belts of magma suddenly become one continuous zone. Two massive copper mining districts, one up in Montana, the other way down in Mexico, they line up perfectly. And this thing called the Omaneka Belt in Canada, which was always this kind of geological orphan, boom, it finds its missing southern half in Utah and Wyoming. The evidence isn't just there, it's overwhelming.
It's literally like finding two halves of a torn map that were separated by 1,000 kilometers, bringing them together and realizing they're a perfect match. The pieces just fit.
So, solving the Baja BC mystery is a huge deal on its own. But the story doesn't stop there. Because solving this puzzle also gives us a radical new answer to an even bigger question. How did we get the Rocky Mountains? For a long time, the leading theory was this thing called flat slab subduction. Basically, the idea that an oceanic plate slid horizontally under North America and kind of wrinkled up the crust from below, like pushing a rug. But the Baja BC solution gives us something way more direct. A continental sideswipe. As this huge landmass scraped its way north, the combination of sliding and pushing, geologists call it transpression, is what physically squeezed and pushed up the Rocky Mountains. You can try it yourself. Rub your hands together, but also push them into each other. That intense pressure, that's what forged the Rockies.
So the big takeaway here is that the journey of this stolen continent wasn't some quiet road trip. No way. The incredible friction and force from that movement, that continental sideswipe, that's what created one of the most iconic mountain ranges on the entire planet. The getaway itself forged the Rockies.
So, 50 years. It took 50 years to finally solve this incredible story of a continental heist, with the evidence hidden by the very mountains the crime helped create. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other epic stories and mind-bending secrets are our continents hiding, just waiting to be discovered right beneath our feet?